Cost components of DAS. What are you paying for when you are building DAS? At a high level, there are three groups of cost buckets: services, materials, and building resources. In service category, you are paying for design and engineering, uh, which also includes benchmark data collection. You are paying for construction of the DAS, and within construction, you may have low voltage vendor to install the infrastructure materials such as cable, couplers, antennas, etc. You may have equipment installers to install all the electronics, and all testing, which includes sweep and PIM, OTDR, and optical loss testing, can be also done by the equipment installers. Keep in mind that most of the reputable DAS integrators can do both low voltage work and equipment installation. You will have to pay for commissioning, which is loading of parameters into the DAS, and further testing and integration with operator signal sources. Closeout package can be done by the DAS integrator or field project management team, whoever you have. This step is very important for the future maintenance of DAS. And finally, you would probably get a maintenance vendor to maintain the DAS, and maintenance falls into OPEX or operational expenses, whereas the four categories I mentioned before, DAS and engineering, construction, commissioning, and integration, closeout, those may fall in capital expenses bucket. You'll need someone to manage the projects. DAS integrators usually will also take care of the field project management, and someone from the customer side manages the overall project. We have discussed materials quite a bit. Uh, we have two types of materials: DAS electronics and infrastructure materials such as cable, couplers, and antennas, etc. One final thing: the sequences of services and materials on this slide are shown in typical sequence of event. Let's talk about building resources a little bit. There is also a cost component that involves building resources. Sometimes this is not very apparent, and so that's why we need to discuss it. Building resources involve space for installation of electronics and signal sources. This space can be several 19-inch. This space can be for several 19-inch rack in the MDF room. If you decide to build a room for the DAS head-end, keep in mind you will also have to add fire safety, HVAC units to keep the room cool, etc. So it adds up. Power for DAS electronics and signal sources. DAS head-end electronics are not power hog, but if you are going to receive base stations from carrier as your signal source, then don't be surprised if individual carrier may ask for, let's say, a 100 amp circuit. In general, signal sources are becoming smaller and consuming less power, but something you need to discuss with the carriers early on in the DAS build-out so that you can prepare for it. Backhaul. Backhaul for signal sources. All radio-based signal sources have to be connected to internet, excluding repeaters. Now, this may or may not be your cost to bear. Carriers usually pay for their own internet services. But if you have a fat pipe coming to your building and it has a lot more bandwidth than you need, this may be something you can consider offering to the carriers to sweeten the deal. How much cost you want to put on these resources varies from customer to customer, building to building, and city to city. But at least you know what to look out for.